High school basketball season is moving along here in mid-December, and one Siouxland team with some high expectations is the Bishop Heelan Crusaders girls squad. And joining us today on Coach's Corner is their head coach, Darren Kolstra. And I want to thank you for being here, Darren.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about those high expectations. Obviously, coming into the season, you can feel it, but you obviously got the talent to really live up to it. Kind of walk me through how you balance that as a coach.
Well, the expectation's high, but, we don't want it any other way. Our kids kind of work for that expectation, and now it's just time to put it all together.
Absolutely. And when you get on the floor, what's your message to those girls, knowing their skill set? How do they play, and how do you kind of bring the best out?
Well, we've been really focusing on, not being sloppy, taking care of the basketball, cut down on our turnovers. We went on some road trips the first 3 games and had to play some tough teams, and we're not peaking yet, and I think that's a good thing. We want to peak late January, early February when we're playing our best basketball.
You talked about some of those early games. I want to go back to the second game of the season. Your guys have only lost so far against the 5th-ranked team in 5A Prairie. Kind of walk me through what you learned about your group in that loss.
Well, we went over to Cedar Rapids and played in that event a couple times now in the last 3 years, and it's just been a learning experience for us. We get down early, and we got down 15 points in the first quarter, come back and only lost by 5 to a really, really good team. They just were hot, and we had to come out of our 1-3-1 defense and go to plan B, but our kids, did pretty good considering that slow start.
Absolutely. Talk about the talent on this team. Obviously, you got Abby Lee returning, Melina Snoozy, very young, very talented, but there's, a whole roster of girls that make this engine move. Kind of walk me through the talent and what they do so well.
Yeah, Abby and Melina are 2 returning starters that put a lot of points on the board. They can score, they can do a little bit of everything. With Trishelle Miller as our point guard, and then, the thing is we've got a lot of talent, but we've talked a lot about it's going to take more than just 3 players. We've got Addie Kleiss, Maddie LaFleur, Colby Carroll coming off the bench. We've got a lot of talent. We've got a lot of multi-sport athletes, and they just got to start gelling. And I think we're heading in the right direction with that.
You mentioned multi-sport athletes, and I talk to a lot of coaches, and they love kids that do multiple sports. Kind of walk me through your philosophy on that and how you think it benefits your girls on the basketball court.
Well, we wouldn't have the success in our girls basketball program without multi-sport athletes, whether it's softball players, soccer players, volleyball players. And I think every coach that has success at Heelan, whether it be the soccer team or the volleyball team, is going to say the same thing. So we try to preach that to the kids. You don't have to be the best player, but you can accept your role and do it for your teammates. And I think that's the approach that we've got with all the multi-sport athletes that we do have.
And you've been coaching for quite some time. Kind of walk me through how, as time has gone on, you kind of gauge the stepping stones of growth of your players and kind of how that changes year to year with different groups.
Well, some kids spend a lot of time at basketball and some kids don't. And, overall, we see a lot of numbers going down in girls basketball, but, we encourage our kids to be involved in the other sports, come to open gyms in the off season, put some time in. But the luxury we have is we have some kids that really put a lot of time into basketball, and I think that's the difference maker right there.
I talked about how long you've been coaching. Kind of walk me through your coaching journey, where it started and how you ended up here today.
Well, actually, started out at the freshman level, coaching JV girls, JV boys over at Sioux City North. And, I was at Sioux City North for 11 years before I went over to Heelan. Now I've been at Heelan. This is my 15th season. And I've been fortunate to have a lot of really good players, a lot of kids that are dedicated to the sport and give me 100% every night. And it's been a fun ride. I absolutely enjoy going to practice, and I think that's the difference maker with coaches that get out early. They just kind of lose the interest of going to practice. I love going to practice, getting these kids involved, getting these kids ready for their next game, and try to game plan. And shoot, it's almost Christmas break already, and it just flies by so fast when you're involved with it. And I absolutely love what I do.
Yeah, and as a coach, a lot of these young athletes, they look to you to kind of teach them lessons. What's maybe one or two things that, you've learned doing this from the younger athletes that you coached?
Well, they change, and these kids are different than they were, 10, 12, 15 years ago. They're just different. They have a little bit different mindset about things. They have a lot more technology on their hands. There's just a lot of things that come into play, but at the end, we want these kids to come to practice, get ready for their next game, be prepared. We teach a lot about life skills as well, and we have a quote of the day that we try to emphasize something that that they can bring with them later on.
Absolutely. I think my final question for you is back to this season and kind of the expectations. You guys want to take that extra step to move on in the well down there. How do you do that, and what do you forecast that to look like?
Well, we've got the respect that from the state that we're ranked #1, but I think there's a handful to 6 teams that are capable of being #1 at the end. It's going to take some hard work. It's going to take some changes, as the season goes on. It's going to take some more depth on our bench. We have to get a little bit deeper on our bench, and then anytime with tournament play, you got to have a little bit of luck involved, and we're hoping we get a little luck involved, and we got to stay injury free.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have on Coach's Corner. I want to thank you, Coach Koolstra, one more time for chit-chatting some Crusaders basketball. And we want to wish you the best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.